if you have watched this podcast before, you know her. We love her. Alyssa is back. Today she's joining me to talk about A Cruel Thirst by Angela Montoya. This book has all the feels. Everything on the spectrum of love that intermingles with pain. I cried pretty hard reading this, and I actually got it out in film because content is king. So I hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to Busy Reading Romantasy, a video podcast that discusses books that merge elements of romance and fantasy while occasionally exploring other genres. We get to escape our world and dive deep into themes of good versus evil, power dynamics, and all of the delicious taboo topics. Curiosity and open-mindedness are a must. That being said, this is a podcast for mature audiences only and will contain spoilers. Your mental health matters, so be sure to check the trigger warnings of each book to decide if this is the right episode for you to listen to. Now, let's get into today's episode. I'm fancy now, and I record the intro at the end so I can tease like what things we talk about.
That's smart.
Thank you. Thank you. I try.
Yeah. You succeed.
Thank you. Alyssa, how are you tonight?
I am well, thank you. I'm so excited to talk about this amazing book.
I'm so happy to have you back as well. This has been a long time coming. And we met in person, finally.
We did. We had such a good time.
Yeah, we went to Saints and Sinners signing in, it was just north of Miami in Sunny Isles Beach. And we got to spend the day together. How was your first book convention?
Amazing. I'm so grateful that we went together. Thank you for inviting me. I had a wonderful time. There's so many books I cannot wait to unhaul and talk about with all my listeners and with you.
Yeah. It was so much fun. We made a great team, how we tag teamed the tables, and we were having great conversations, taking pictures, doing all the things. And we were talking about how it was such a great size because it was on the smaller side.
Yep.
But even then, you had time to talk to the authors. You didn't feel like there was never a line behind me of feeling like you had to rush, and we could talk to everyone and just had a great time.
There were so many independent authors as well that I had never heard of, and I got to kind of learn more about, as well as Penelope Douglas was there, and I love her taboo romances. I got a signed copy of Birthday Girl. That was the first smutty book that got me into everything. So it's always fun to go back to the one that got you into the dark romance, spicy taboo vibes. But even Romantasy, they had some amazing authors there as well.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yes. Yeah. So it was great for a dark romance convention, and if they have it again, I will happily go back because it was so much fun. And it was such a beautiful place. Oh my gosh.
It was right, you could see the beach. And as a local girly, my relatives actually got married there 31 years ago. So it was nice to go and see how beautiful the setting was. Everyone was so nice, and all the vendors were incredibly sweet. I'm actually burning the contemporary romance candle right now because you got 3 and then I got 3. So I'm burning one right now. So yeah.
Yeah, and just to even speak to how kind everyone was, she was having a sale that was 5 for $25, and we decided we were going to split the purchase, and she was like, well, just get 3 and 3 so it's equal. And that was the whole vibe of just everyone is so giving, and that's what makes it so much fun as well.
It was amazing. Even the cups there that were bookish, there were t-shirts. Everything was poured so much love into it. A lot of it was handmade. So if you like supporting small businesses as well, there are amazing opportunities for that. And honestly, I do have to say that it kind of opened my eyes to the beauty of romantasy and also dark romance as well. There were some werewolf romances out there. There was some dark Disney sexy retellings that were kind of cool. So lots of amazing books. And listening to all your episodes, I need to get back into romantasy because it's been a hot minute and I love that genre. So speaking of romance and fantasy, I cannot wait to discuss the book that we read together. It's our first buddy read. I'm sorry it took so long.
Yes.
The first few chapters hung me up a little bit, but once you get into this book, it grips you and it's so, so good.
I felt that too. It just speeds up, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta figure out what happens.
I could not stop reading. I literally read the entire thing this weekend. Once you get over that chapter 11, once I got past chapter 11 for me, it was quick.
Yeah. Let's see. What was chapter 11?
It was like,
oh yeah.
like
Yeah. I got my notes right here. Yeah.
It took a minute, but once it hit, even just the notes between each chapter, where it was like journal entries from people in the town and legends, it ramps poetry, it ramps up. So it was really, really good.
Yeah. So we are talking about Angela Montoya's A Cruel Thirst.
Yeah.
As always, there is going to be all the spoilers in this. I have my notes to kind of speed run the plot. Alyssa, interrupt me any and every moment you have something to add. If I've missed something, half the time that's the case. And people are like, hang on, pause, roll it back.
Oh my gosh moments, or like the tension. There was some tension. There was some longing. Okay. Enemies to lovers.
Yes, talk about a slow burn.
Even the self-loathing, like our love interest, that man hates himself. But like, he also was like the damsel in distress. He was the one who needed saving most of the time. And it was refreshing.
Yes, it was a great role reversal. We got stuff flipped. We have the super strong female main character, and then the male main character is a little softer.
Yeah.
And they support each other through the whole thing. Yeah.
They do. Yeah.
So,
and he doesn't want her to be, she's already like very witty and sharp and like takes shit from no one. And he doesn't want to change her. Like,
yes,
that is not a problem. Like, he loves her the way she is. And that was also fantastic.
So, yeah. And I want to mention before we get into this that there are very obvious Latin vibes. She includes some Spanish words, and you definitely get that feel throughout the story as well, which I think is always very fun.
I did feel that. Even just like one of the first pages you see in the book is a family tree that's later referenced later in the story, but it's important because you get to see how large this family was and how important each member of the family was, especially towards like the lore. So it felt like if you liked Jasper from Twilight and you kind of hear about his origins a little bit, it does mirror kind of what happens to the love interest in this book. So even though Twilight has a lot of dark elements, some people love it, some people hate it, I did see a little bit of Jasper in this book, just a little bit. So just his like, just the hunger, the suffering, the way that he was consumed by something he never wanted, the mental games, like just everything. Like, I couldn't help but like mentally imagine the love interest is the same guy who played Jasper in Twilight. That's just who I imagined in my mind.
Yeah. that is very fair. And I will say, I think the extensive cast is part of what made it a little difficult. Not difficult, slow in the beginning, I think, because my brain, it's just how I operate. It takes a little longer for me to place people and kind of get them sorted in my head. So it would take a minute for things to fall in place. But I will say, the further you go, the more that very much clears up as you get to know each character as well.
Yeah, I think there were certain characters who I mentally knew would be important later, like Fernanda, his sister. I knew she was a core reason he wanted to live. His parents are important in the beginning, and the grief is definitely present, but I feel like once you know why he has this obsession with vampires and understanding them, it makes sense. Like the hatred, like the loss. It's giving Batman. We're like, he was hurt really, really, really bad, and he's like, for the rest of his life, he's like, I will avenge you. So, which makes him in a way heroic because he has good intentions. And then Carolina as well. I feel like both of them had something in common, and we can talk about that more. But grief is a really big part of this book. Loss of loved ones is really big, and like, what would you do for love? Like, grief is love, persevering, as the Marvel girlies will know. I can't be Marvel girl anymore, but yes, grief is love persevering. That's true. What happens to love when someone passes away? It doesn't stop. So that's kind of the dark side of this. Like, what happens when you lose someone you love? What would you give to bring them back?
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So hopping into it, we start right off the bat as our main man Lalo goes to revenge his parents' death.
Yes.
He ends up at this, like, I picture it as this like underground club, and they're mentioning kind of these vampiros, and sweet little Lalo, don't know what he was trying to do. immediately gets turned into a vampire.
Yes, he is looking for a woman with red hair, which for me, I was like, Victoria? So
Yes.
bro, I was like, she's got red hair. I'm like, uh-huh. And he's blonde and he's sweet baby boy. He's like, I'm gonna avenge my parents. You killed them in the street. And he goes into this like den of vampires, which is just like a bar. And he goes
Yeah.
in, it's dark, he can't see much, sees a woman with red hair. He's like, I'm gonna end you, girl. She's like, and she's like, you're trying to come in here and threaten me in my home, in my vampire den. And long story short, she's like, oh, you'll suffer. And she turns him, even though he begs her not to. And you see him like, isn't he trapped for like 3 days? And he like breaks out and kills so many people.
Yeah.
It was terrible. I felt
Does.
so bad for him, like the hunger. Like she trapped him on purpose, so he would not be able to control himself. Like she wanted the hunger to eat him alive, but he broke out and like killed all her children, all her vampire children.
Yep, because the hunger was so much, and to be turned into the one thing you hate, that the creatures that are responsible from taking your parents from you in the first place is a lot.
I think I did end up like saving something from the very beginning, like when he described the transformation. Yeah. So they immediately, he's like, I'm here for the woman with the red hair. I do not smell Marcella on you. She had a name. I was like, of course she does. Of course he does. Like just this man, all he sees is like, she's monstrous, and that's like all he can see, which valid. She killed his parents, and she doesn't even apologize. Like she's not even like, it wasn't me. From the very beginning, she's like, they must have tasted good. I was like, you are a horrible person. Like just dark, evil, horrible. And then he immediately goes home to Fernanda and he's still covered in blood. Like that man ate through everyone and then was like, I need to go home to my sister, because we live in a time where she's alone and she has no man to speak for her.
Correct.
She's in a worse situation. So he immediately goes home. Fernanda, his gay amazing little sister, she still loves him, and she's like, he's like, we need to flee. And he'd been reading about vampires before, so he knew what was going to happen to him.
Exactly. He's very well read. And then it flips over. We have multiple POVs. So now we meet our female main character, Carolina. Her whole family, she's descended from an established family of vampire hunters. And her dad, despite her interest, will not let her help out. It's kind of it's not a place for women, girls, and kind of let the men do their jobs and protect everyone. She is very close to her grandpa, her abuelo, and as she's sneaking out to train with him, unfortunately, there is another vampire attack. They come in, get into their land, and it was actually their cousin who ended up getting turned, and her grandfather dies right off the bat.
Yes, he was leading her out of the house in order to give her a late birthday gift, because he missed her birthday. He was the only one who believed that she could be a slayer. He was training her on how to throw daggers. Like he believed she was capable. She also looked like her great grandma, so like he had a connection to her, like just physically. She looked a lot like her great grandma, and he I guess also loved her for that. But yeah, he was leading her out. He gives her this like pretty much like a lasso, like a rope, and she's like, I need a gun. And he's like, no. He was like, because if you're a good fighter, you can fight with anything. And she was like, pew pew. He's like, no, the rope. So when she kills her first vampire, she turns around and she's like, I did it. And he's like, oh my god. And then he dies. And he dies like in her arms. Like her dad he's like, we need to protect the land. And her dad is heartbroken, but he like immediately runs off to protect the land. And her grandpa dies in her arms, and she vows to kill all vampires, like at that point, which is a dangerous. I thought that was a little bit, it showed her naivete a little bit, just because she generalized all of them must be horrible.
Right.
But you also have to understand, she's raised her entire life that all they are is monsters.
That's the narrative. Yeah,
the moment her cousin was bitten, gone, lost to the wind. There's no saving him. And we see that throughout the chapters. With there's like journal entries, newspaper clippings, poetry, where it illustrates that people have tried to save their loved ones after they were bitten, and everyone's like, they're gone. Like there's no solution, and It's crazy. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. You see her rage and her grief, but you also see Lalo's grief in the sense he lost his parents and he dove too deep into the dark side for vengeance and got turned into the thing he didn't want to be.
Yeah.
Versus for her, she's like, I'll kill them all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's a little bit. They're both extreme. They're both
Yeah.
very extreme.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
absolutely.
made for each other. If you, so some would say,
Setting up the enemies before they become lovers.
Well.
So Lalo and Fernanda decide to head to De Oro to investigate the first murder of the vampiros. I will say, we mentioned kind of in between the chapters, you get little excerpts of articles, and kind of you start getting some of that information to piece together in terms of the original vampire.
Yes.
And how that spread.
And how they came and how he came to be.
Yes, exactly. And he's resisting feeding, which obviously is eventually going to become a problem, just not right now. Meanwhile, Carolina and Nena, love her.
Her cousin, yes.
They go vampire hunting. And so basically, Nena catches on. You can't lie to her, right? She's the girl that has the good looks. She has it all going on. She's got the confidence. And she's like, Carolina, what's going on? You're gonna bring me,
really
right?
puts on her pants in the middle of the night. She's like, no one's gonna hear me. And like she's putting on her trousers she hid, like she's getting dressed. She's got a little like mask giving Zorro vibes.
Yeah.
And my girl's like, I'm gonna be a vigilante in this bitch. And her cousin's like, hey, they share a room. So her cousin's like,
hello?
Can I go with you? Carolyn, no. Her cousin's like, okay, well, like I'll scream. So like, I will literally scream. She's like, okay.
I've got my pan. I'm ready to go.
She's got her tangled little pan. And then Carolina's got her like daggers and stuff. And her, long story short, they go to like fight vampires. But neither one of them has done this. They're on their own at night.
We're like, we'll just try this out. Nothing could go wrong.
I was like, what is going on? And then Lilo was going out to hunt. He eats animals, like, and he gags, like he doesn't want to, but like my man's getting migraines. He feels his organs like shutting down. My man's struggling. He's struggling.
But he refuses to feed from humans.
He really wants his sister to have security. He wants to find a way to reverse his condition. He wants to, he has this theory of how to do that, maybe. And he's ready for I don't know the best way to describe it. He's ready for shit to hit the fan. Like he's like, okay, if I die because of this, at least my sister won't have to like look, like constantly be on edge, know? And his sister's a lot more worldly than he is. Like she's a lot more like, he's had, she's like, okay, she believes in love. Like she's not afraid of him and his condition. Like she's not afraid for her life at all. His eyes do turn red, I believe, when he does like feed or the hunger takes over. But he immediately snaps out of it. Like my man's fighting for his life. So he's out there trying to eat his little chipmunks and gag. And he's not a fighter. He's a lover. And Carolina may or may not stumble upon him and beat his ass.
Heck yeah. So he does get away. They don't know that that's him, obviously, but then they hint at knowing, oh, there's a new brother and sister staying in town at the little cottage.
Yep. That's super rundown. It's described as being pretty fucked up.
But
she didn't like, I think what she like pounces on because she hears something and she sees a creature that's like, an animal that's no longer alive, and she pounces on him, stabs him. He pushes her back, not realizing his strength. And she like falls against the tree. And he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She's like, I'm gonna beat you up. Her sister hits him with a pan. He's like, he's like, oh my God, stop. And then he's stabbed in the shoulder. He literally is like hiding in a cave because during the day his skin begins to bubble.
He falls in a little hole and then he just like has to hide out there until the next night. And meanwhile, Fernanda's like, oh, we've been invited to a fiesta. It's like, well,
Fernanda's like, oh, the girl who came is like super beautiful. Like we have to go. Like we have to show face. Fernanda has a crush on the cousin. And Carolina smells like, isn't she's described as smelling like leather and like something else. Like she smells like a flower of
I
some
don't
sort.
remember.
It was something like that. Whenever he would smell her, he would be like, I smell leather and ink and flower, and she's close by. She's so horrible, but she also is like kind of pretty in the moonlight. I was like, oh, he was torn. He was like, he's like, I'm terrified for my life, but also like, she's beautiful.
Right. So
100%.
there's this fiesta, and essentially they want to meet the new brother and sister in town, right? And this is from Carolina's point of view, where we now get another potential love interest. We get Raphael, who is a boy from her past,
horrible,
introduced at the party, and there's kind of this intention that they're gonna get like married off. She doesn't really have much of a say in it, and she's like not about it at all.
Her parents, like her mom is like, it's time, and her dad is like, we've made arrangements, and she's like, fuck out of here. Like, he's described as being attractive, but he's like he's pompous, he's an ass. Like, he thinks it's a done deal. And she's like, I get to choose who I'm with, I get to choose who I love, I don't want you. She also knew him as a child, and he was like a bully, so she's like, no.
No. Fernanda does show up without Lalo. She shows up by herself and kind of comes up with this, excuse. And but Lalo realizes that Fernanda's gone, so he shows up at the party as well. And he has it in his head. We now know that the first vampire (mark) is a lady named Alma Rosario.
She was the first like murder victim. Like they found her body like drained of blood.
Right. Oh yeah. So in my head, when you stumble past that clue, that was me questioning, like, was she the first vampire? Like, did she was
like
but we find out
like, she was found like, I don't know if she was found at the Devil's Spine or if she was found in the woods, but she was found like drained of blood, and she, like, people knew she was married or like she was with a guy. And like he's not there. They're like, oh, she must have been heartbroken. She must have gotten attacked by something.
Right. Yep.
Ooh,
So
but then
we're
she like rises.
we're getting
Ooh, it's
some
crazy.
clues.
Crazy.
And as you mentioned earlier, upon smelling Carolina, Lalo was so overtaken.
He's like, that, oh, is this you?
He knocks over this giant ice sculpture, and everyone is like,
it was an ice sculpture of like her grandpa.
I was embarrassed for him. It was
in memoriam or some shit. Yeah, he knocked that shit over. My man went, she's beautiful, but also she's a girl who tried to kill me. And she recognizes him because she saw him in the moonlight. And she's like, oh, he's beautiful, but also he's a vampire.
So he inevitably meets her whole family. He's very clumsy and awkward and steps away. So then Carolina then makes up an excuse to be like, oh, I need to go freshen up to hunt him down. She's like, well, he's not going to get away with this. And she ends up finding him in the library. She's trying to kill him. He ends up saving her. Do you want to break it down for us?
So he's like, he runs away, right? He's like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. He like runs away, and his sister's like, oh my god, like, my brother, I'm sorry. And then the whole family's like, yeah, it's fine, it's totally cool. And Carolina's like, I need to find a way to get his ass. And her mom is like watching her dad's watching her not needed possible future fiance is watching her. She's like, oh, I have to go. Like, I don't even remember the reason. She's like, she made up a reason to follow him. He's like in the library. He's like, oh, books. I love poetry. Yeah. And he's like trying to hide and get information. And long story short, he hears, like, he can hear heartbeats. Like he can hear them coming. But he, somehow she like got on his ass, almost stabbed him. They're trying not to make a lot of noise. And he's trying to explain to her, she's like, you're a vampire. Like, you're horrible. And he's like, no, like, I understand. I don't want to be this way. They killed my parents. And she's like, why do I care? He's like, because I also want to end vampires. She's like, what would happen to you? He's like, does not matter. Like, my sister, A, B, and C. He's trying to explain himself. And long story short, when she tries to hurt him again, but she's trying to realize, like, he's not even fighting me. Like, he's not trying to hurt me back. In theory, he would have the strength to do that, but he's not. And while they're in this tussle, she stumbles and like lands in his arms, and it's at a party, it's dark, she's unaccompanied, it's still in that
Mhm.
period of time where it's like it's not appropriate, and she stumbles into him. Then the mom and dad, like, these people come into the room, and they're like, oh, and you just see her and him like in a what looks like an embrace.
Yes.
And to save her reputation, they act as if they have suddenly fallen in love
Mhm.
and are now engaged, and she's like, I choose him.
Right, exactly. So because he essentially shows her some kindness, she kind of
Mhm.
hears him out, and then when they all break in and her dad is like, I promised you in marriage, and she's like, well, actually, dad, I love this guy. And they're
Right.
like, we've never met him before. How does that happen?
Yes.
Um,
And the mom and dad apparently also fell in love very quickly. So the mom's a
yeah.
little bit
So
like,
there's
okay, this is, I could see
maybe,
why.
I guess, yeah.
Mhm.
So Rafa is like, "No,
He calls
we will
bullshit.
duel." And so
Mhm.
Carolina tries to coach Lalo as quickly as she can, who has never shot a gun.
No. Academic
And
baby. He's not ready.
exactly. They all go out in the yard. It's this big thing. And more of the was it the vampires end up coming
Mhm.
in the yard or getting in, and it's
Yeah.
like this whole thing. So they pace, they turn, you hear
Mhm.
two gunshots. We find out Lalo completely missed, or
Okay.
I think, yeah, but he got hit, but because he's a vampire, there's less damage. Well, he's okay, he's not gonna die basically. And but because the other vampires attack, there's blood in the air. So Fernanda and Carolina immediately help Lalo get under control because he's
Mhm.
like, ooh, smells
There's
a
like an
little
old woman who
yummy
falls.
out here.
Yeah, who's so
Yeah,
sweet, and she falls and, like, scrapes her knee, and he's so hungry. Like, in his normal state, he would not, but
right.
he's so hungry, and she interrupted his hunt the night before,
Hmm.
so he's like, "Fuck," he smells it. He's like, "Ah, old woman, ah,
Yeah,
ooh," it's giving crispy wings. He's ready to consume, and she has to
right.
hold him back, and,
Yep.
he got pretty badly hurt. I think he was like it was taking him longer to heal.
Yeah,
The man fainted, which he does a lot in this book. He faints a lot.
he does. He does.
Yes, but
Yeah.
I kind of imagine him as a less charismatic, like, Flynn Rider. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Where he's
Yeah.
pretty,
Yeah.
he's smart, but, like,
Right. But he's not
he's
like
saving.
suave with it. He's not
No,
smooth.
the smolder was crushed in, like,
Yeah.
chapter 1, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, they end up bringing him back to the house. I don't know why I always wanna call it, like, the Barbie, like, what did he call it? He was like, "My casa blah, 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 blah house." It was like a man it's like
Oh,
he just
yeah.
said house 1,000 times, but yes,
Oh,
it's the same vibe, like, they bring her back to the
yeah.
house, they bring her
Yep.
back to her room, and while they're in her room, or they're in the grandpa's room or something like
Yeah,
that?
he wakes up half naked in the grandpa's
Yeah,
room,
she had to get him
and
undressed because he was
they're
covered in
basically
blood.
they basically come to a pact that they're gonna be, like, working together,
Mhm,
and so he thinks that Alma's husband became the vampire and turned her, so she was the first murder victim, and he's like, "Alright, if Lalo can kill him,
mhm.
then the thread connecting everyone to Tequani will
Yeah,
sever."
it's like
And
the
I
jaguar god.
yes, and
Yeah.
I thought this was such a cool vampire origin story. We'll get
Yeah.
more into it as we learn more, but
Mhm.
like the way it all connects, I was like, I thought that was pretty unique rather than I don't know. I just thought it was cool how it all connected.
I agree. I think there was something really magical about this concept of, like, you almost, like, resurrect the god, or, like, you would release blood onto the body or onto the grave of the one you wanted to bring back, and then you would, like, do this prayer, and, like, the god will come, but there would be a price.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? So,
Exactly.
yes, your loved one is now a vampire, but at the same time, it's like they're not really the person you knew before, and
Yeah.
when they feed, they feel the memories of the person's life. So if
Right.
you had a horrible life, bad, bad, bad. Like,
Yeah.
when Lilo was changed, she fed all these people who had horrible situations. So he
Mhm.
has, like, a bad connotation with feeding and a lot
Mhm.
of guilt with it, and then you see with other vampires, when they feed, you assume they've gotten into a very dark place because they enjoyed the experience with all the positive memories, and also you steal time. Like,
Right.
it's alluded to that you steal, like, sometimes minutes, but sometimes weeks,
Mhm.
years from feeding
Mhm.
people.
Yeah.
So that's another reason he didn't want to steal like literally like the life force
Yeah.
of people.
Yeah. Yeah. That
That
was a
was
good
really
point.
cool, like that concept.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And so basically the agreement is that he's gonna have to dote on her and
Mhm.
pretend to be madly in love, and then she's like, "I'll teach you how to fight."
Yep.
And her way of teaching him to fight was basically like trial by fire.
Yes,
Just
throw him in the ring. He'll be
yeah,
fine.
go off the bat, like, don't drop your guard. She's very short with her lessons, but, packs a
Yep.
punch, literally.
Li she's throwing daggers, she's punching him, she's kicking him, he's taking it, I guess, like,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I also like how he was stronger than her physically in theory, but he was
yeah.
so malnourished, and it
Right.
wasn't in his, like, character to attack,
Exactly, exactly. Yeah,
you
that's a
know?
good
So
point.
she would tell him, "Attack me," and he couldn't
Yeah,
'cause
yeah,
he's like, "I'm a gentleman." Like, I
yeah.
don't it's giving Anthony from Bridgerton, "I'm a gentleman." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, he
Yeah,
could
yeah.
not,
No, exactly.
but he brought a softness to her. Like, she talks about her
Yeah.
grandpa with him. She talks about the importance of being able to fight. How can I be betrothed to someone who cannot fight with me?
Right,
Love is to
right,
fight,
right.
and I was like, "That was so cool." She's like, "I am a lover. I fight for what I love." I'm like, "You know what? I love you, girl. You're very
Yeah,
strong and
yeah,
amazing. I love you." Yes.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, so
So
they do have a training, she pulls out her little box of daggers, there was, like, a stump her grandpa, she would throw them in for hours,
mhm,
um, you get to meet her little brother, she has lots of siblings,
mhm,
and her little brother's like, "Rafa's gonna take her away from us and never bring her back." Like, even a child knows, like,
mhm,
when they get married, she's not coming back,
mhm.
and she doesn't wanna leave, like, she loves her
Yeah,
small town, she loves her family, she wants to be a hunter.
exactly.
But for her dad, he's like I could understand, like, in his mind, if he loses his daughter and these relatives are getting picked off, he's like, "What
Mhm,
about my generations? Like, what about" he loved his daughter, like,
mhm,
he didn't wanna send her off to die willy-nilly, like, he was
mhm.
hoping to keep her safe, even though he wasn't listening to her.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So, yes.
So she has to sneak him out, and in doing
Mhm.
so, she ends up running into her mom, who's like, "Hey, we're gonna go meet Lalo later at their little cottage." And he eventually gets out, and, she also has to sneak out Fernanda
Mhm.
too, because we found out she stayed the night in Metta's bed.
Yes, so Fernanda was staying in Carolina's bed because, I think because Carolina was watching over Lilo when he was, like, knocked out,
She
to
was
make
in
sure he
bed with
wasn't, like
Nena, yeah, yeah.
yeah, to make sure I guess in theory, she still didn't trust him at that point, but
Mhm,
it's a vampire in her house, like, she needs to
mhm.
make sure that she has eyes on him at all times,
Yeah,
but also, he's kinda cute. Like, she's like, "Oh,
yeah, yeah,
I saw those abs, those little weenie abs, those little skimpy abs," and she's watching him.
yeah, yeah.
And her cousin ends up sleeping with, Fernanda, it's alluded
Mhm,
to, and she's like, "Okay,
mhm.
so happy for you guys. We have to, like, speed this shit
Yeah,
up."
we
But
gotta
then
go. There's stuff to do,
yeah,
yeah.
somebody's coming to check on us. Ooh. Um,
So
yeah, it just, funny element ensues. She's like, wear Fernanda's dress, but it's way too fucking tight. So there's that. But she eventually it was like the nanny. It was like a woman who would like watch them like growing up, and she comes to check on them.
mhm,
Um, but long story short, what happens next? I think it's something related to like he has to like there's dogs on the land and the brother ends up calling them off. He's like, you have to tell them to like sit or whatever. I
mhm,
imagine them as like Great Danes. Like they're
mhm,
supposed to be really big dogs to protect the
mhm,
land. But you
mhm,
begin to realize like this family protects all of the city. Like
mhm,
the father, all the men he works with, like, they all dedicate their lives to hunting these vampires. But there's been a lot more vampires more recently, and it
mhm,
alludes to the fact that Lillo's presence is the reason there's more.
mhm.
But
Yeah.
there was already a lot before he even got there.
Right, 'cause it's all connecting the thread to the original
Mhm.
vampire, essentially.
Yes.
So upon sneaking out of the house, and going back through town to get to the cottage, Lalo runs into Maricella's daughter,
Mhm.
and he has a moment where he's like, "What would Carolina do?" Bam! Punches her right in the face and essentially takes her down. He's congratulated and invited for a drink. So
Mhm.
pausing on that, because that is about to get real juicy in the story.
Hell yeah.
Carolina and her family, meanwhile, arrive at the Mendez's cottage,
Mhm.
and Lalo, of course, is not there. He's stuck with his little adventure. So Fernanda's like making up she's being a perfect hostess and
Mhm.
everything. And also, there's a point where it's mentioned that she notices how he is adding color to her black and white thinking, right? So she had it, as you mentioned before, that vampires are bad. We're
Mhm.
good because we're killing them. And then Lala comes in and none of that's true anymore.
Yeah.
It gets broken down.
He's still himself. He's just always in pain, aka Jasper. And he's always in pain. And
Yeah.
he's fighting for his life to be there for his sister. She's literally the
Right.
only reason that he's
Yeah.
like pushing this
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
And Carolina has to wonder, where are these vampires coming from? Where are they all this far gone? Because even in the first chapter with her, when she kills her first vampire, she thinks she sees relief in his eyes,
Mhm.
which is one of those things
Mhm.
where it's like, was he there enough to know he'd taken so many lives? Like the guilt must have somewhat eaten at him. So it's one
Right.
of those things where like, how far gone are they?
Mhm.
Even
So
losing her grandfather, like I think she just has a lot of grief and a lot of
right.
pain.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mhm.
So at the cantina, Lalo gets coerced to take a shot and he spits it out on a man. And again, he has
Mhm.
to put on this big act that he's all big and bold
Yep.
and to the point where Roberto the Bull essentially calls him El Patron, and which is like that's a good name to have.
It is.
Um,
It
and
doesn't
in
match
doing
his personality
so,
at all.
right, exactly. So
Just
it's
like
funny
it.
that he's essentially emulating Carolina
Mhm.
and like putting on this act that he's big and tough as people would expect him to be.
Mhm.
And so in doing that, he gives him access to records, more
Which are hidden
information.
in the bar. So she does allude to
Exactly.
like, "Oh," he's like, "The oldest building in the city must be the church." She's like, "Nope. The only place in the
Actually,
city that won't be destroyed is the bar." So I was like,
yep,
"Oh."
yep,
So
yep.
he ends up going under the bar and he finds all these books and like all this literature tying back to the history of the vampires in this town,
Yes.
but he loses track of time and he's not
Yep,
there for her
yep,
at the house with his sister. So he
yep.
he didn't show up. But
So
he was getting important information.
yeah, they
Mhm.
eventually leave at the cottage, and Caroline and her family go back home only to
Mhm.
find out that all the guards are dead. And she does think Lalo did it, like he never
Yeah.
showed up, you know. But our sweet, sweet Lalo is just getting information. He finds out where Vidal was buried,
Mm.
the Alma's husband, and he ends up leaving. But another vampire attack starts. He's even delayed more,
Mhm.
and uh, does does
I believe
Carolina
that
come to
when
him?
he's
Where do
really
they meet back
walking
up?
out of the bar
Yeah,
and Caroline is on her horse and
yeah,
she's already pissed because she gets to her family's house and like her little brothers who I imagined, I don't know if age was confirmed, but I imagine they were like 10, maybe like 9 and 10, like little
yeah.
kids, but they could still talk
Hmm.
and like they were active,
Hmm.
but they were fighting through little swords. They had no idea there was an attack. And the
Right.
mother and the father race home thinking, "Oh my God, like our babies," and thank
Yeah.
God the kids are fine. But you find out that like all the men who were unalived and like everything that happened, thank God the kids were fine. But
Hmm.
Caroline is so angry because she's like, "I let you into my house." She did think he because he didn't show up. But you find out the moment he walks out of that bar, she's already on her horse on her way to like kick his ass and like end
Hmm.
him.
Hmm.
Um, and she like jumps off. I don't know if her horse kicked her off or she jumped off, but she lands on him
Yeah.
and he's like she's angry. He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, I'm sorry I didn't show up." She's like, "I will literally kill you. Like you attacked my house." He's like, "No, it was
Yeah.
not me." And then the vampires attack
Yeah.
and then it shows
Yeah.
he's like, "Ask the bartender, I wasn't there. I was here the whole time."
Yeah, yeah. He does explain and
Yes.
he's found not guilty. So
Right. And he's getting
eventually,
information which she
yeah,
needs
yeah. They go to the cemetery, they dig up
mhm,
Vidal's grave,
to prove that he
and
rose. Yeah.
yeah, and actually there's so in the library he
Mhm.
had quoted, and it was actually one of her favorite lines, and this is where we
Yeah.
find out that she's actually pretty well read herself, which
Mhm.
is a little more uncommon. And she turns on and she's like, you quoted it wrong because it was my favorite line.
Yeah.
He's pretty impressed with that.
Yeah.
Ding, we start the
He was
attraction
already a nerd
right there.
before, and Fernanda
Yeah,
mentions that. He's like, you're always reading, you need to go live your life." So it's
right.
sad that as a vampire, his life got cut short, and
Yeah,
he was kind of a good-looking person, but he
yeah.
never pursued life in that way, and by speaking
Right.
to Carolina, he's seeing that you can be brave and you can be
Yeah.
bookish
Yeah.
at the same time,
Yeah.
which is really
Yeah.
sweet.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes, and she
Uh,
corrects him, so that was cute.
so Vidal is not there,
No.
but there is a dagger,
Mhm.
and Okay. So
Yeah.
if you want to fill it in, my notes say she
Yes.
cries over loss and he holds her, but he's crying blood.
Yes. So it's giving True Blood a little bit.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah. So when they find the dagger, I believe she recognizes, correct me if I'm wrong. So
She
there's a
has the other
dagger.
one? Or
It's
yeah, yeah.
lovers daggers. So
There's
one
two.
has a green like a like emerald, and the other one is like a red stone, like maybe garnet or something.
Yeah.
But she, while seeing the dagger, while being at the graveside of a someone who's connected in theory to her family, realizing all the death that's behind her and in front of her, the loss of her grandfather, it's too much. And she claimed that she didn't cry, like she didn't get emotional after the attack, like she was just so focused on like this mission.
Right.
He holds her and he confides that he's also
Yeah.
grieving. She's grieving. She's able to lean into him. And we see that like trust earned a little bit. He's willing to do anything to end vampires, even if that means, and we finally hear him kind of reference, even if that means he himself dies, he's like, at least, my sister won't have to be in fear anymore. And
Right.
he recognizes she has had to live with that fear all this time. She breaks down. And then after that point, I believe they realize that the original vampire isn't there. Whatever her great 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 grandma did to raise him up, it finally hits her. This is it's something linked to my family, because if she rose him up, if she
Yeah.
made him a vampire, then all the people who died, who were attacked by vampires, is because of my family.
It's been yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. So
That was a great point. Yeah.
all the anger she had with Lillo, where she's like, "You're a murderer." Well, if her grandma sacrificed the way she
Right.
had to sacrifice, in theory, all vampires were made from her family.
Yep.
Indirectly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
Oh, yeah, and that
heavy
means
to
he's out
take.
there. His body's not there. So it's one of those things where she's
Yeah.
like, she was very offended when he said, like, we have to exhume this body pretty much, if there's anything there. She was
Yeah.
offended. She's like, "I'm not digging up my ancestor for you."
Right.
But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
there was nothing
Yeah.
there. That man's alive. Well, somewhat. He's somewhat
Yep.
alive.
Yeah.
So,
So
yes, we race forward, and, I believe after that point, do they go back to her house, I think?
yeah, I think they split up. Carolina gets home, and that's where her dad catches her kind of
Mhm.
sneaking in and out. But a guard interrupts, saying they found multiple tracks heading towards Lalo's.
Mhm.
And as a reader, I think your initial thought is like, "Oh my gosh, they're gonna catch!" But they're like, "No, we have to go protect them. Like they need
The
help."
dad's like, "Oh my god, my son-in-law." So, a
Yeah.
soon-to-be son-in-law. So the
So
dad goes, she wants to go with the dad, but the dad's like, "Absolutely not."
no,
The dad gets there, and he's like, "Oh my god, are you safe?" Lalo's like, "I'm fine.
yeah,
It's safe."
but can we come stay at your house actually? Because my
Yes.
sister needs help. And of course, Senor Fuentes is a great man. He accepts.
100%.
Uh,
Safest place in the world. But before he goes, they have a
mhm,
really beautiful talk, which is
mhm.
kinda cool. I remember, like, the dad calls him, like, the equivalent of, like, my son, in that moment. Like, the dad calls him that, and it hits hard because Lillo hasn't had a father
Yeah,
figure.
yeah,
You
yeah.
also, I do believe at some point you get a flashback to how Lillo's parents passed away.
Mhm,
And it covers the fact that all this anger and grief he has after the son comment was because his mom and dad were literally walking out of their house. The mom's shoe got caught on the cobblestone, and the
mhm.
dad bent down to go get it and like fix it for her. She was giggling. A woman with red hair was walking by them, and then when she heard the giggle and she kind of heard their joy, she turned around and attacked.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
just shows that, like, for Lillo, hasn't he hasn't had a moment to be happy about
Right,
anything, because
right.
he's been trying to get Fernanda to a safe place
Yeah,
so she
yeah.
doesn't have to live like this. Also, his family wasn't poor. Like, they were, apparently his dad was a very, like, business savvy guy. So
Yeah,
they left all their businesses in that city. So they do have a bit of a paper trail,
right.
because they did have, a life back there. So
Mhm,
that just leaves room for someone to question a little bit, like, why would you people come to this small town after coming from a
mhm,
big city? And he had to
mhm,
change his last name because they were
mhm.
actually well known in that city.
And they lied about where they were coming from as
Yeah,
well, which
yeah.
unfortunately, Rafa is
Mhm.
not ready to give up Carolina, and he threatens that he will find out what's weird about Lalo, to end their little engagement.
Yes.
So when Carolina finally gets home,
Mhm.
Lalo is there in his adorable little getup trying to get out of the sun, literally
Like,
covered
wrapped head to
like head
shoulder.
to toe.
Yes, and everyone's looking at like he's crazy,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, I'm sick. I have really bad, like, illnesses, like, migraines or whatever, so I have to be in the
Yep.
shadows."
Yep.
And
Yeah.
his sister's like, "Yeah, he always gets sick."
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, so she leads him to her grandpa's old room,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
while there, I believe, and he takes off all the layers and stuff, like, she
Yep.
recognizes
Yeah.
how attractive he is. Like,
Yeah.
she notices that.
And he's losing the battle to hunger, so she brings him some boar blood as well,
Mhm.
and he is full of pity,
Mhm.
and so she takes to kind of teasing him to help him get out of it,
Yeah.
as their
Yes.
connection continues to grow. And this is where she starts to teach him how to throw knives as
Mm.
well, but then she gets called to help prepare for another fiesta because we're gonna party all the time,
Yes.
obviously.
The
What do you gotta
next
do?
fiesta, I believe, was because of the traders, like, they would come
Yes.
the
Yeah.
merchants would come, I
Yeah.
what, like, twice a year, and the grandpa would, like the dad would, like, set everything up big to make it, so they would trade and there was income involved.
Yep.
Lilo ends up going to the father's study,
Mhm.
and he, like, breaks open, like,
Yep.
a sealed, like, drawer,
Yep.
and he finds the family tree, and there's all these X's next to all the names.
Yep.
And you come to find out, like, all these people who are, like, dying in the family, like, down the tree, and that's also referenced in the very beginning of the book. One of the first pages is that family tree we
Yeah.
referenced a little bit
Yeah.
earlier.
Yep.
Mhm.
And so meanwhile, she shows up to
Mhm.
the fiesta and she meets Marcella,
Yeah.
but Lalo's not there yet. And
No.
so she doesn't know who this lady is. And as a reader,
Mhm.
you're like, oh my gosh, things are
You
about
just
to
see
get very
red
exciting.
hair, and she's, like
Yeah.
I guess she's passable enough to human that you
Yeah.
can't really, like, she doesn't her red eyes aren't out, like, she still looks like a like
Yeah.
a like a lady, and also the merchants brought their wives. So people from out of town are here, so she has no idea that this woman is not related to the merchants in any way.
Yep.
And now
Yep.
we know, Marcella has found Lelo, is enraged because all her vampire children are gone. He killed them
Yep.
all.
Yep.
And,
Exactly.
she wants to end him, meaning she wants to take someone away from him that he loves.
Yeah, yeah. So meanwhile, she moves on. Lalo
Mhm.
is being gawked at because he's an attractive man despite
Yeah, he
being
dressed up. Our
awkward.
man dressed up.
But
Yeah,
he sees Ralpha
like,
cornering Carolina
he
basically,
pretty
and
much is
he
like, "I'm gonna find out what it's about this guy, like, you will be
yep,
mine." And then
yeah,
Lilo, like, walks up finally and is like,
yep,
"Are you bothering my betrothed?"
yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
think
And
the lady
he's
said
like,
no.
I know you have a fake name. She doesn't care. She's enamored. He goes after her. She walks away. He goes after, and
Yeah.
he's like, would you like to dance?
Yeah.
They dance. She kisses him on
Yeah.
the cheek,
She
and
literally runs away from him because she's just feeling so much. She's like,
yeah,
"Okay, he's attractive. I was vulnerable with him. He
yep,
smells kinda good. Like,
yep,
he's a vampire, but also, like, he's got a sweet heart and, like,
yep,
he's never attacked me." Like,
yep,
so she runs away into, like, the chicken coop area just to get away
yep,
from him, and
yep,
then he comes after her, and he's like, what's wrong?" And she's
yeah,
like, "She asked me to dance." He admits he's never asked anyone to dance before,
mhm,
and he was scared he was gonna do it wrong. He doesn't know how to.
right.
And,
So sweet.
she dances with him, and they dance in the little chicken coop area,
Mhm.
and they're actually laughing, and they're having a very sweet moment, but her mom ends up calling her. Yeah, and
She gives
she runs away, she runs past a shadowy figure in the darkness with red hair. It's
yep,
Marcella! She was
yeah.
watching him in the darkness.
Oh,
She knows
no.
he cares about her.
Yep,
She
yep,
knows he cares about her. I was like, "Marcella in the
yep,
darkness with her beautiful red hair. Damn you and your
mhm,
highlights." So, yeah,
mhm,
Marcella's watching her,
yeah,
"You
yep,
beautiful redheaded woman," and yeah,
and
she doesn't know she's
Carolina's
there.
yeah, exactly. Carolina's, dad is like, "Lalo, come join
Mhm.
the men," so they
The
get
hunt.
separated again. Um Carolina, meanwhile, finds evidence that her abuelo knew about Alma
Mhm,
having the matching dagger that they
mhm.
found in
I love those
Vidal's
daggers.
grave.
So cool,
Um,
may I add. What?
yeah.
Like, I want that now. I'm like, "What do you want for your wedding?" "I want lovers' daggers."
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Meanwhile,
cool.
Lalo shows up and to for the hunt, and he's
Mhm.
given a pony. We find out that Rafa was the one that gave him the pony, and
Carolina's
this is
pony.
where I fell in love with. I was calling him Papa F, but Papa Fuentes, because he's like, Rafa, this is not a joke. You are going to switch with Lalo right now. Like, he
Yes.
supported this man. He was on his side. He did the right thing.
Yes.
And I had so much respect for him in that
The dad was
moment.
like, also, Rafa knew that if anything happened to this pony, Carolina would be
Yeah.
upset. That was like her
Yeah.
pony as a child.
Exactly.
You know, like the pony was sassy. He didn't want to be ridden. Like Lelo's
Yeah.
a grown ass man. Like it's just one of those
Yes.
things where like Rafa was setting him up to fail. He was also setting him up to embarrass him.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
luckily the dad
And
was
it
not thinking that.
backfired.
And you're
Not
right.
having it.
I did fall for the dad even more in that moment because I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
okay, he loves the mom. He loves his children. The mom's also pregnant, so she's in a vulnerable situation where she's watching her 20-something-year-old daughter, her
Yep.
teens, her niece, and a
Yep.
house full of staff, and this vampire surrounding her, and she's pregnant. So it's one of those things where the father has a lot of pressure to protect the family.
Yeah.
Which makes
Exactly.
you care for him. It's not that he doesn't believe in Carolina, it's that he literally cannot afford to leave anyone else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And they find an attacked human, so they decide to go after the vampire, and they're like, he's like, Lalo, save the human.
Yeah.
That's problematic because Lalo really would
Lalo's
like
literally in pain. Like my man's struggling with hunger, his organs are shutting down, grief, like he's fighting for his life. And then Rafa gets I think Lelo gets attacked, but he obviously like it should have killed him, but it didn't kill him.
Yeah.
Rafa gets attacked. Lelo
Yeah, by Maricela. Yeah.
Yes, and
Lalo
Lalo
saves him. Yeah.
But that's when he's revealed that Rafa now knows Lilo's a vampire, and he's pissed the fuck off. And in that moment, Marcella attacks. Rafa is knocked out. Lilo could have let her kill him, but he didn't.
Yep. So
this is except he's gonna expose him.
This is where things really start to speed up. So basically, Lalo and Carolina decide to go to a place called Basilia's Point. So Marcella can't warn Vidal that like all of this is happening. It'll be a 2 days ride. So she goes and grabs supplies.
And you need to write letters to your loved ones because we're probably gonna die.
Yeah, basically. They kind of knew that this was like essentially a suicide mission to try and go and finish this. And he writes a letter to Fernanda appreciating her shine. And this is where it like you realize too that his hope is by killing the original creator, it's severing this thread. Well, Homeboy is at the bottom of the thread.
Yes, he's a baby vampire. He's like he can feel himself transforming, even though he's not feeding on humans, and he doesn't know how much left of his human form is like there to recover.
Yeah,
he's been a vampire for like a few weeks now. Like it you know, he has been feeding on blood. Like we haven't really heard him eating normal food. Like his body is transforming. He can't stop it. So he's thinking that, you know, this might be it. Yeah.
So
he tells his sister, he's like, I should have been brave like you. Like I've everything I've ever done is because I love you. Like, and he's writing to her because he knows that, you know, this may be the last time. And he doesn't give it and he doesn't get a chance to like the next time he sees her, he writes another letter, but you don't find out who the other letter is for until much later on.
And they have to go.
But he puts it in like a desk. He ends up going with Carolina into this like what is it? Like it's like a buggy pretty much.
Like
carriage.
It's
it's one of the coaches. And as they're walking to the coach and Carolina is like, I packed a bag, like she's trying to be brave. You can tell it's breaking her heart. She loves her family. She doesn't want to. She wants to fight, but she's not trying to like die out here.
Exactly.
But that's what it takes. That's what it takes to protect her family. So as they're walking to the buggy, the carriage, her mom pops up and she's like, oh, well, where are you guys going? Like, you know, just to say, I love you, say goodbye. And Carolina can feel, she's like, you know, she wants to tell her mom, like, I'm so sorry for all the times that I live snippy with you. Like, she's like, I love you so much. It's just that's what she wants to say. But her mom is like, oh, where are you going? She's like, oh, we're going to go get, you know, ice cream and, you know, check out some spots. And her mom's like, okay, you know, be safe. And she hugs her and they get to the carriage and the guy who's like the one who's like leading the horses, she's like, you know, they're in the carriage. They, you know, a little bit of steam. If you're looking for that romance, it's coming. So they're in the carriage. They hit a little like, ooh, a bump. Oh no. And then they like fall to each other and they're like talking about, they kiss.
And
the kiss. Oh.
Oh,
so good. It's so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so good that it's
Well,
so
I was
good
like,
that
no.
Lilo is like, that was a mistake. And she's like, what? He's never been kissed before.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
a gentleman. Even though they're fake
yeah,
engaged, he's a real gentleman. And
yeah,
he's like, I'm really, into you right in his mind. He's like grappling with a lot right now.
yeah,
He might be dying in a few days.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yep,
but she's like, mistake. He didn't mean it like that, but that's what came out of his face.
yep,
So
yep,
long story
yep.
short, they're going to someone else's house in order to get weapons because like her cousin was hurt or something. They're going
Mhm.
to the house to get
He's
weapons,
the
and then
yeah,
his sister Fernanda and her cousin are there,
yep,
and he sees his sister, and he's feeling a lot because of the kiss, but he's also in his mind he's like, this might be the last time I see my sister.
yeah, and they have to lie, which is the most
Yeah,
heartbreaking thing because they know that
it's gonna be the last
the
time.
cousin and the sister will try to, like, tag along, and they don't wanna get them involved, so they
Mhm.
lie knowing that, you know, these are the people they love, and they're doing it
Yeah,
to protect them, and they might not ever see them again.
yeah.
So Carolina's driving now, and she's going so crazy. Eventually, she crashes.
They tell the guy on the coach, like, "Oh, can you wait in the line for
Yeah,
ice
yeah,
cream? It's
yeah,
so
yeah,
long." He goes in the
yeah.
line. She takes the thing. He
Take
says,
off. He
"Carolina,
can't
be
come.
careful." She's like, "You regret kissing me. Shut up." And he's like,
Yeah,
she like leads the horses.
yeah,
She's like, "Oh, it's gonna be a small dip. It's a massive dip."
yep,
You're right. She
yep,
crashes it. They
yep.
get out. There's these hounds that like in the land can smell creatures that
Mhm,
don't belong in that land. They're
mhm.
fine with humans, but they fucking hate vampires.
Yep.
So
So
she
now
has
they're on
to
the
end up like
trail.
covering him with her body.
Yeah, she, like, rips her skirts to try to, like, have him hide in the sun, and she's,
Mhm.
like, fully withdrawn from Lalo, like, all walls up at this point.
Yes, I think
Um
she's fair. She put herself out there and she
And
feels denied.
she knows he's lying too, that's the
Yeah, because he sees her thigh, he's like, "Whoa, all systems down."
Oh
And
my
she's
god.
like, "Okay, you're a liar." He was like,
Yep.
"Huh?" No,
Yeah.
she asked him to do something and he's like, "What?" She's like, you lying bastard." He's like, "What?" She's like,
Yeah.
"Nothing." I
Yep.
was like
Yep.
I was like,
Yep.
"Girl, we're the same person."
Yep.
I was sitting here and I'm like, "I hate you. What did you say?"
Yeah.
"I need to
Yep.
go." It was she's dramatic.
They oh yeah, they ride off,
Mhm.
before they start getting attacked by the Chupasangres,
Yep.
and Lalo grabs her like, it's not going well, the horse, like, his scarf the skirt is falling off,
Yeah.
so eventually he grabs her and runs until he's wiped out,
Yeah.
but she will not leave him, so
He
in
used all his
order
strength to, like, speed them up.
yeah, to cover the scent, she basically covers her body on top of him and even cuts herself so that her blood is out there to get the wolves to leave.
Yeah.
And they do, and but she's also like, "You are losing all your strength. We're
Yeah.
not gonna win this battle. Drink."
Yeah.
Of
He doesn't want
course,
to. He does
it's
not want to.
delicious and
But he
amazing.
does. And
He
he
sure
sees all of her
does.
memories. He sees her, like, feeling for
Yes.
him. He sees her in a meadow with her cousin. Like,
Yep.
he's seeing all these things, and he's like, "Whoa." And then after she's like, "Lilo, you're hurting me." He was like, "Lilo, you're hurting me." And, like, she pushes him away. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And then he's like, "Well, the only way to heal you is for you to drink my blood." She's like, "Oh." And she drinks it, and she sees some of his memories, and then she sees him, and she's like, "I know he loves me."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, like, she's like, "I know he loves me." I was like, "Lila." So he gives her his blood. So his blood's in her system. Her
Yeah.
blood's in his system.
Because how could that ever go wrong?
Right. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, "Is that the repercussions of my actions?" So long
Well,
story
if it
short,
isn't the
they both,
consequences.
use each other as human juice boxes for a short period of time. And then and now, like in Cuba, they say like "soke." In this, they're saying "lelo." In this
Yeah.
situation,
Yeah. They say basically
like
they're both like, "Let's
we
go."
shared ourselves with each other. Okay, there's a lot of feelings flowing, there's a lot of blood flowing. So long story short,
To
they shared
become
blood.
one.
She knows he loves her. He knows she loves him, but they haven't
Yeah.
said it yet. And
Yeah.
then as everything's going down, they shared blood. They're having a lot of feelings, and they end up being intimate. May I add, they're in this like dark forest. There's fucking hounds in the distance. There's a dead ancient vampire, like
Up the hill, like
a hill full of skulls and bones, and they're laying in the grass. And she's like, "I don't want to die without." I don't want to die without experiencing all the things. And he's like,
Yeah.
me neither. And so they end up sleeping together, which good for you. Like they're having a good time in the grass, covered in blood and dirt, and they
Yeah.
end up having a great experience. He describes it as an hour. All right. And they have a good time. And then after, they're like they're trying to act all like stoic. And
Yeah.
she's like, we need to cover ourselves with this mud so that no one smells us. He's like, oh. So they cover themselves
Yeah.
with mud, and then they're climbing up a hill.
Yep.
And she's like, what is that? And he's like, that's bones. That's skulls and bones. And right as she's saying, like, we must promise to never separate, they cut both their hands once again. And they cut both their hands. They go like they touch hands. I swear to you, I will never leave you. And
Yep.
then right as they say that, this man falls through the ground.
Yep.
Out of her arms.
Yep.
I think the ground, something happens in the ground. He pushes her back. Mm-hmm.
So they take care of Marcella, but also now Carolina's changing.
Yes, Marcella found them, realized that Lilo loved, she's like, oh, you love her. I'm gonna take her away from you. You killed my children. Yeah. She buys into her human juice box. She buys into Carolina, you know? And then Carolina's like, oh my God. And she's like, don't do it. And Little got pulled away by something. Carolina like chases after him. And long story short, she's turning.
Yep.
And he's like, dear God, no. And the dad was getting attacked.
Yeah.
He ends up protecting the dad, but she ends up telling the dad, like, you know, the dad's like, you brought a monster into my house. Like, what the fuck? She's like, there's reasons. Little's a good guy. And long story short, he's like, well, she's trying to explain to him we have to kill the ancient vampire. And the dad's like, or what? She's like, or you're going to lose me too. Because she just got bitten too. So in theory, she could die as well.
Yes.
So when Little fell through the ground, he fell through all these bones into what I can assume is a cave. And he ends up seeing this like dirty, short brunette guy who looks like he's in his like mid-20s, okay? In his little pirate billowy white shirt.
Yes.
And it's the vampire, it's Vidal.
Yeah.
Yep. So in theory, he would be in his 20s, you know? Vidal is like, what are you doing here? Who are you? And Lilo's like, I need to kill this guy. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, he killed Marcella. He did. He like, I think they stabbed Marcella. Marcella's dead. Marcella's the daughter, the vampire daughter, pretty much, of Vidal.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Lilo says he killed her. And Vidal's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And so he's intentionally egging him on to keep him away from Carolina. Smart man. But then Vidal calls all of the vampires to him to come and avenge Maricella's death.
Because she was loyal to him. I guess she brought him people.
Right. And we know now that Papa F already knew about the past and everything.
He was
Carolina,
aware. Yeah. But he didn't want to tell anyone.
Carolina still saves him from a vampire, and he's like, okay, let's do this. We got this. Lalo shows up after having like
he literally dug himself out of that hellhole. Yeah. He's all bloody. He looks unrecognizable. She almost kills his ass. He's like, no, it's me, my love. She's like, oh my God. And he's like, I would literally crawl back to you, like for sure. I'm here. It's a lot more epic than that. But long story short, he's there. And they both, she ends up telling Vidal, like, I'm sorry. Like for the lot, you didn't get to have your love story with your partner. Like it got cut short. I'm so sorry.
Right.
And he's caught off guard. He's like, oh,
yeah.
And he looks heartbroken. Like you can imagine, like we do find out the pieces kind of pull together that what happened, to our knowledge, is that his wife, he died. She was heartbroken. She cut herself, put her blood over his grave, and prayed to the god to bring him back under any means, any price. Yeah. And she promised pretty much her generations, like the line of her family, to pretty much be consumed by this cruel thirst. And long story short, she anyway, so she promised something she could not provide with a pure heart. But that's where all the exes were coming from. All of her descendants die. All the innocence dies. Yeah. Vidal rises back up. He attacks her. he unintentionally kills her. She was always, and I think we get descriptions of her, like she's described, he was so hungry. And we do understand that thirst and that hunger. He ends up killing her in the woods. She's dead until she rises up and is killed, and their time's cut short. And that he's been alone. He's been alone in this horrible cave, breeding more vampires, feeding on so many people. And the only way to end it is to end him with both daggers at the same time. From the back and the front. So they end up stabbing him. They kill him when they catch him off guard. And then you hear screams like all throughout the land of all the vampires dying.
As Lalo additionally takes his last breath. And they promise to find each other in the afterlife.
And she tells him, she's like, you can't leave me. And he's like, she's like, you have to wait for me till I'm ready to find you. He's like, I'll be waiting. And it alludes that all of her ancestors are part of the deal with the god was that none of the ancestors could pass on. So all of them are just like in this spiritual woods, and they can't pass on. All of her aunts, including her grandpa, or they're all in the woods, like waiting.
They can't get to El Cielo, which is the sky, essentially. And we find out that Carolina's blood and love tether him.
She literally won't let him go. Her blood will not let him go, because they shared blood when he was healing her, when she was healing him. So her blood will not let him go. And he hears her like in the spirit land when he wakes up. And he's in this like misty, spooky world. All her ancestors come out of the woods, and they're like, you have a choice. You can either go to the next plane and like be at peace, and it alludes that he would see his parents there, or he could go back to the real world and the physical world and be with his love, but he would feel pain. And he would, there's no promises.
It's part, it's part of life, but you get all of that. And her grandpa comes out and he's like, can you just reassure her that I'm okay and I'll be waiting? Alyssa, I don't think I have ever cried so hard in a book. I have video of this and I will put it in a little clip because my goodness. One, I'm very close to my grandpa, as you
super sweet guy. I got to meet him at the event. So sweet.
And just to imagine like having that reassurance from a loved one that's passed on, my soul was crushed. And also, I was very happy for her, and like emotions were off the charts for this book.
I will say that the message from her grandpa, having lost a loved one recently, it just made me feel like he loved her. Like he died so suddenly. Like his death in the book was so sudden. But that, as is life, you don't always get that goodbye. And to hear his message just trying to communicate, like when Lilo said like she's angry with me, she's gonna be mad if I stay here, the grandpa's like, you better go. Like just and like him describing her, the grandpa laughing and being like, that's my fierce like granddaughter, just like the acknowledgement. He loved her, and I think it's just one of those things where like love endures, like in all forms, and it was just so beautiful. Like the love of the mother between Carolina, the love between Fernanda and Lilo, like there was so many beautiful familial connections that even the romance was amazing, but it was all built from family, and it made the story so unique. So he ends up choosing to go back, and he wakes up, I assume, a day later. It takes a while. He wakes up another like a day later, but she felt his pulse. So he ends up waking up in like a pretty much a t-shirt, like a billowy child's t-shirt. And his sister's there. She slaps him. She's like, what the fuck? Because she read the letter and she's upset, but she also loves him. And she's like, you were willing to risk. She didn't realize what he was really risking. He didn't communicate that. He didn't want her to worry. And he's like, I would have done anything for you. And they have a beautiful moment. And he's like, where is she? And she's just, one of the things he hears when he's in the woods is she says, I'm going to spit on all your books if you don't come back to me. Like, oh God. Like, I'm a And her fury is so just the fire in her.
She knew where to hit him where it would hurt.
That man went, huh? He immediately was like, pardon? So he immediately comes back and he runs just in his billowy pajama shirt. This man runs, Nosferatu style into the garden. And for the girls who know, this man's Delulu. He's running. He runs into the garden and she's reading the letter. Turns out that the last letter that he wrote was for her. Before they went on the journey, before they had the kiss, before any of that. He wrote a letter for her. And it's pretty much just communicating that he was in love with her. he quotes the poem again, and he's wrong again, but he was so into her.
Yeah.
And you just see how pure his heart was. She laughs at him misquoting the poetry, but she also cries because, like, you just see how much he loved her.
Yeah.
Um, and he finds her in the garden, and they reunite,
Yeah.
and it's so cute. And she's like, Can I kiss you?" And he's like, "Under one condition." You're like, "Huh?" He's like, "You gotta marry me." I was like, "Oh my god!" And
Yeah.
she's like, "I'll kick your ass forever." He's like, "Sounds good."
So,
And she's like,
deal.
yeah, I'm in. You know
Yeah.
what? There's a meme that's coming out where it's like, I just love a woman who would actually kill me. Like, and it's
Right.
like some people just, you just want a fierce, badass woman. And you know what?
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine. So they end up kissing, and they live their life to the fullest. And oh, I forgot to mention, in the spirit land, you get to see Vidal and his wife. They get together. Their souls
Yes.
find each other in
Yep.
the end.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yeah.
she apologizes, like, she's like, I'm so sorry for everything that I did to this family." And she's,
Yeah.
like, laying on his chest, and he's like, "We will face it together."
Yeah.
Oh my god. We don't know if they passed on to the equivalent of heaven, but it's nice to think that whatever cost there was,
Yeah.
um, they would pay it together. Also, the way that he comes back is a little bit elusive, because remember, she sees lightning come down, like light comes and hits him, and this man is brought back
Yeah.
somehow. So I wonder if the
Yeah.
gods allowed that for him somehow.
Right. Right. Yeah.
A little
Yeah.
misty. I like that
Yeah.
though. What were your thoughts on that? What was your theory on that? Because I think lightning comes, like something hits him and her. Was that just me? I remember reading that and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
what
Ooh.
was that?" It alludes to this gods and magic and things like that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
getting better at questioning things, but I think when everything's getting wrapped up, like when I'm trying to just get to the home stretch, I'm just like,
Heard.
just
Sometimes you just gotta go with it.
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
like what a beautiful book. Like you are going to get the love and you are also going to get all of the pain that
Oh,
comes
yeah.
with
So,
love.
so good.
Like
Oh,
they just go hand in hand.
honestly, this was, even it took a little minute to speed up. I
Yeah.
would read Sinner's Isle, which is the first book
Yeah.
from this amazing author. I would read her
Yeah.
first book because
Yeah.
it felt like an adventure. Like when it
Yeah.
speeds up, it feels like an adventure. The romance is amazing.
Yeah.
Not Faded Black Spice, but it wasn't important to me. The longing was important to me in this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the character development,
Yeah.
Carolina grows, Lilo grows, like, it's very natural,
Yeah.
and when the
Yeah.
pacing picks up, I actually
Right.
quite enjoyed it. I would give this book a solid 8.9 out of 10.
Nice.
I love this.
Yeah.
If it
Yeah.
became a movie, I would see it.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
see it.
I agree. I think, in the cases of as someone who does enjoy smut and spicier things,
Mhm.
I have no problem
No.
slowing way down, going kind of like essentially like fade to black, nothing
Mhm.
super crazy or
Yeah.
obvious. When you get such a beautiful love story, it
Yeah,
literally does not matter. I was giddy when they kissed. I was like,
me
"Yes,"
too.
and immediately they separated, and I was like, "No,
Mm.
what are you doing?" And just,
One step forward, two steps back. Yeah, it's
it's
just gotta keep them wanting.
it's
It
part of it, yeah.
it was a lot, but you know what? I think this has to be one of my most unique vampire books I've ever read, one of my favorite
Yes.
in that
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Also one of my favorite male love interests. Lilo was very
Yeah.
unique. Like,
Mhm.
oh, I cared about him so much. Like, when I tell you that when this for me, once chapter 11 passed, once
Yeah.
they meet, they get over that hurdle of miscommunication about, like, why are you here? The
Yeah.
moment they're on the same page,
Mhm.
I flew through this book. Like, so, so good, and I
Yeah.
recommend it as a physical copy because you do get those,
Mhm.
transcripts of, like, the letters and the
Mhm.
newspaper clippings and things like that, and that was
Yeah.
100% worth buying a physical copy. To me.
Yes. Yeah, there was some really
Mhm.
cute poems that I, like, took pictures of
One of my
as
favorite quotes
well.
was, "She is the sun." I was just like, "That is so beautiful because the
Yeah.
sun is life." That was
Literally,
amazing.
I just turned to a random one, and it was, "I often mistake love and loss. They are twin sisters holding hands and scampering past, teasing me with their wicked beauty." Like, come on! That
Ooh.
was just turning to
You
a
know
random
what?
page.
Oh, I have one
Yeah.
as well. Oh my god, I think I slipped to the same page by
Is
accident.
that
Girly pop, what am I doing? Oh, here
Uh,
it is. Yes. Okay, this was a very spooky one, but this is
Yeah.
one of the like newspaper clippings.
Oh yeah.
Blood is a real and visceral thing. I watched my daughter break through the bindings the priest asserts us with her, but the chains of iron were no match for her strength. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, that's gothic. Like this was definitely giving like
Yeah.
moody, mist, like
Yes.
big gowns running through the woods,
Yes.
like who's the real monster here? Like I also think I wish we had gotten just one more chapter, but maybe from the dad's point of view or the
Ooh.
mom's point of view, because
Yeah.
I think he
Yeah.
knew like why all the vampires were like there was more coming every year.
Right.
He knew he was going to lose all those men. He didn't warn anyone. Like this is from my family's, from my bloodline. Like they
Yeah.
didn't tell anyone. The
That's a
grandpa
heavy
knew, the
burden.
dad knew. In theory, the
Yeah.
mom would have
Yeah.
known. No one.
Yeah.
So she was keeping this secret from her entire family, which in theory they all
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh,
It,
that's dark.
yeah. This
Ooh,
book would have stunning imagery
I
if it
agree.
was a movie. I
I
think it
I could
really
see this as a
could.
miniseries. I could see this as a
Yeah.
miniseries because
Oh
so
yeah.
you all
Always
the
give me more.
characters. I think you would need like at least 5 episodes. I think you could do this
Yeah.
in 5 episodes,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Who would you oh, I have a good question. Who
Ooh,
who
ooh.
would you imagine as Carolina? And who would you imagine as Lilo?
That
Mhm.
is a great question. And also, I don't watch a lot of like TV, so I'm like terrible with actresses and
You know what?
actors.
I did have someone in mind.
Oh yeah.
She was from, I don't know if you ever saw it, was from Meet the Fosters. It used to be on like ABC Family.
Uh-huh.
But there was this girl and she was one of the actors and
Yes.
she was so spunky and like so
I actually
smart.
think I know who you're talking about.
Yes, her name is Sierra Ramirez. And
Yes.
I'm gonna try to find like a picture of her or something. Please ignore my phone. But when I think of Carolina, I had to imagine like dark hair, dark eyes, like very like badass. Like you can see her from across the room. So I imagine it's like this person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
that's what I
yeah.
would
Yeah.
imagine. And Lilo, I do imagine like Jasper from Twilight. It's something about the
Right.
blonde and the eyes. Like I imagine like Jasper from Twilight. Like I imagine like this guy. That is the
Yep.
vibe.
Yep.
I just
That's
I
pretty
just
spot
he
on.
had to be like you could spot him from a mile away. He looks like
Right.
he's in pain, but he's like
Yeah.
timelessly handsome. Yeah,
Yes.
I can
Yep.
imagine that.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. No,
But who was your
absolutely.
favorite character in this book?
And the thing is they were all so good.
Yeah.
Like, all of the female characters, well, the out of the core group, you
Mm.
have Carolina, you have
Yep.
Nena, her
Yep.
cousin, and then you have Fernanda, and they were all very strong personalities, and
Yeah.
I just loved that so much. I think Nena and Fernanda, even though we didn't talk about them too much because you just can't
Mhm.
add every detail, they had great comedy in there.
And
But
chemistry.
yeah,
Yeah, they're
yeah, and just I
cute.
think Carolina's, spunk and how she was able to essentially, like you said, soften
Yeah.
with Lalo, that created, even though, um, you could argue that she was more in her masculine when she's trying to, be a warrior and she wants to kill
Assertive.
these vampires, and Lalo is very much kind of a laid back, let's not do violence.
Mhm.
They still came together and things shifted with both of them, and I think that's just such a beautiful, um, chemistry.
I
Yeah.
think that it also was, like, of all the characters, the one that I definitely think it could have spent a little bit more time with was, like, her ancestor who
Yeah.
turned her husband into a vampire, like, that
Yes.
like, that dread, like, had she
Yeah.
known what she was doing, like,
Right.
ooh, I could have easily done with, like, a chapter in her point of view of, like, the night it happened, and then, like,
Yes. Oh,
waking up.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I could do that. I could easily do that, you know?
Yeah, and, like, the
Um
emotional state of, like, doing whatever is necessary regardless of consequences just to get back someone you love.
Yeah, and we also discover that Marcella was a member of the family. Like, somehow she connected to Carolina's line of relatives because she was in the woods when her spirit, like when Lilo woke up in the underworld, pretty much, and he was in the woods. He
Mhm.
saw her red hair. She rose up and she apologized and says, like, I lost myself. There were so many
Mhm.
voices in my head, like all the memories that she consumed. I
Yeah.
guess she did truly lose her identity, and she realizes that she came back to this land as well because she was a descendant of one of Carolina's
I
relatives.
found her. I
Mhm.
found her. Uh, Basilio and Catalina, who eventually had Inigo and Paloma, and then Isabella and Andre, and it just goes down and down. There's
Mhm.
there. You got to
The
see the
the
family
family tree,
tree.
I'm telling you, get a physical copy. If you get this book, get a physical copy because there's
It's
so many visual elements that you
yeah.
kind of need later in the story.
It
Um,
is helpful.
it was cool. It was
Yeah.
cool, and
Yeah.
like I will say that like I think I'm torn between I loved it's a basic answer, but I fell in love with Lilo and Carolina. Like
Mhm.
when they had a very personal moment, he called her Lena.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so cute. And like
Yes.
just the way that she protected him, and like there was a quote she said where she was like, to love is to fight. Like you have to
Mhm.
fight. You can't
Yeah.
give up.
Yeah.
And that's where like when he's in pain and when he's like his skin is bubbling and she's covered in dirt and blood and she's exhausted, they literally climb that mountain together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we also see a little bit of a redemption for Rafa because
Mhm.
he apologizes. Like he comes back, she punches him in the face because
Mhm.
she's like, "You're trying to destroy my love," and he's like, "I'm so sorry." Like
Yeah.
Lily Lilo's passed out. Rafa
Yeah.
comes, she thinks he's coming to shit on her,
Yeah.
and he's like, "No, like I came here to apologize. Like I understand now," because he
Yeah.
sees Lilo saved his life.
Yeah.
When Marcella attacked, he could have left him.
Mhm.
And when Rafa woke up and was going to confess everything, Lalo ran, yes, to save the day, but at the same time, like he didn't have to save him that night,
Yeah.
So just showed he was a good man. Like
Yeah.
he was a
Yeah.
good man.
Yeah.
So I loved Lilo, I loved Carolina, and I'm so grateful that we did this buddy read together because this book did need to be
Yes.
discussed. It was really, really
Yes.
good.
Yes. And so I pulled up Angela Montoya's next book that she's
Ooh,
working on is called Carnival Fantastico. Anything Carnival, I am sold. So
I
I pulled up
know.
the little description, and it is a
Ooh,
dual POV YA romantasy in which Esmeralda Montero, a thief pretending to be a fortune teller, competes for the starring role at a magical traveling circus in the hopes of gaining the wealth and respect she's always longed for. But when the irritatingly handsome boy who once broke her heart resurfaces and warns her that the carnival is more sinister than it appears,
ooh.
Esmeralda must decide whether fame and fortune are worth their deadly price. Angela, if you would like
That
to
sounds
come talk about this book, I would love to read it and talk to you about it because this sounds fantastic. I am obsessed with anything carnival. I wished I could be in the circus growing up, and
do it. That
but
sounds
I
fun.
know. But
Cool.
yeah.
Yes.
So I'm
Well,
excited that
I'm hopping on that Sinner's Isle. That was her first book she
yes,
released in October 31st of 2023. So it's pretty recent. It's only 384
yeah,
pages.
yep,
And I'm going to read the description off Goodreads because this book's already
perfect.
out.
Yeah,
So if you love To Cruel Thirst and you want to read another book by her that's already out, Sinner's Isle, I may also be reading because that sounds actually amazing. So the description of this one is Rosalinda is trapped on Sinner's Isle, an island filled with young women like her, majestics, beautiful witches loathed by society for their dangerous magic, yet revered by powerful men who want to use them. For years, she's been kept under the watchful, calculating eye of Donna Lucia. Now 18, Rosa will be a prized commodity at this year's offering, a fiesta for the wealthy to engage in drink, damsels, and debauchery. That is why she must flee before someone forces the vicious phantoms within her to destroy everything she touches. Handsome, swashbuckling Menino has long sailed the high seas as the prince of pirates. Then the king's fleet attacks his father's infamous ship, leaving him marooned on Sinner's Isle with only an ancient chain meant to lead him to his heart's desire. Instead, he falls into the hands of a brazen, although bewitching headache, Rosa. Together, they must outwit each other and their enemies before the offering ends, and it's too late to escape the perils of Sinner's Isle.
oh,
And
that
that's
sounds
already
so good
out.
too.
Yeah, this
Okay,
sounds really good. So, and the
okay.
cover is like a beautiful woman in the arms of a man with long, black, curly hair, and there's dragons
Yes.
surrounding them, and there's a black smoke behind her. And there's like a
Yes.
sunset in the distance. It's so
Oh my
epic.
gosh.
So you know
Okay.
what? I'm probably gonna read that too because it sounds amazing. So
It does. It does.
so
Oh,
fun. So
Alyssa,
yeah,
well, thank you so much for joining me. Can you
thank
let
you for having me.
everyone know where they can find you?
Oh, I'm so happy we got to do this together. I'm sorry this book took me forever to read. Life got
That's
in the
okay.
way, but this book saved me. It saved me the way that Carolina saved Lilo. So
Mm.
you can find me on Instagram at stories.and.spoilers.the podcast. So I'm sure I'll be linked in the show notes below. But you
Absolutely.
can find me on Instagram. My podcast is on Spotify and YouTube, and I talk
Mhm.
all things books with friends, authors. I do spoiler episodes and non-spoiler episodes. So you can
Mhm.
find me there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much again for joining me, and I'm so glad we finally got to talk about this. We will surely talk about more books in the future, so if you have
Sure.
any requests that you would love us to cover, please, please, please let us know as well.
Yeah, but this was amazing. Thank you so much for having me. Don't get slayed by any vampires out there. And if you do get slayed, maybe you should fall in love with one. I don't know. Maybe you guys
Yes,
can like dance
please.
in the woods together or
Is
something.
that too much to ask for? Come on.
You know what? Yeah. Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
I'm at the like prime age. I can stop aging right now. Just lock
Heard.
me in here. I'd like to
You know what? I'm here for
finally
those
answer.
witchy vibes. I want the practical magic. I want to be an old lady in a rocking chair somewhere. Super powerful.
No, fair, fair.
Heard.
Yeah. If you've made it to this point in the episode, thank you so much for watching. I'd be incredibly grateful if you showed some support either by following or subscribing, depending on what platform you're watching on, and leaving a comment. You can always follow me on Instagram at Busy Reading Romantasy or on TikTok at busy.reading.romantasy to see what I'm up to. You can also email me at busyreadingromantasy@gmail.com to tell me your thoughts, dreams, secrets, or if you just have any book and author suggestions you'd love me to cover. Grab yourself a good book, get cozy. I'll see you next Wednesday for a new episode.